They have now confirmed Alexander Isak.
Yeah.
Yep.
Done last night, wasn't it? Agreed last night, was it?
Mm-hmm. That's the man that, he ain't leaving Newcastle. They got Champions League football. Interesting. Interesting.
Apparently, what I've been told is he told him in the summer, even with the Champions League football, that he wanted to go.
Of course, Lee, because that is a myth. The bullshit that especially our fans tell ourselves to lick our own wounds is absolute bullshit. You think top players want to just play for a team in the Champions League, or do they want to try win the Champions League? But we tell ourselves everything we can to make ourselves feel better about it. Now, listen, I always said I'd spend 140 on Rodrigo and Gyökeres. It happened to be Gyökeres and Eze. I still wanted the Rodrigo type, but it is what it is. But this whole notion that, and we go back to the way the fans are in terms of making excuses for everything. The extremes are just sickening at times. Am I jealous about Isak going Liverpool? I'm jealous about the way Liverpool have moved in terms of they're a big club. They've flexed this summer. They've they've stretched their legs. They've really gone for it. Like, you look at their summer and you think, on top of a Premier League title, you think, yeah, they're moving like, they want to dominate. That's what I envy a little, because I'm happy with our transfer window to a certain extent. But when you're happy with something and then the opposition just gets something better, it does make you look and think.
I'm just thinking about it, guys. That their window might be the greatest window in Premier League history. When you think about who they've brought in, but also the money they've got.
Million, John.
Sorry, again?
430 million they've spent.
And think of what the income is. They've got good money for Kwanzaa. They got good money for Diaz. They got decent money for Nunes. They even got a fee for Trent. His contract finished. They even got money for Trent Alexander-Arnold. Like that might be the greatest window in the Premier League history for in and outgoings. I can't think of a better window. Wirtz, Isak, probably Guéhi. I think Guéhi, if they get him today, that is maybe even the bigger signing than Isak. Because Konate had a good game yesterday, but his injury record is really dodgy. If they can get Guéhi in, who I think from the top 5 defenders, arguably in the league, Isak, Wirtz, who else they bring in? They brought in one more. And the 2 fullbacks. That's more than a flex.
I'd say 2004 Chelsea. I think they bought Drogba, Robben, Carvalho, Petr Cech, and maybe Paulo Ferreira.
I don't know. I think one of the best 10s in Europe, one of the best 2 number 9s in the league, last year's best left back, best right back in Germany.
Yeah, I get you. Even that Chelsea side was gems that could become stars, whereas
Liverpool, they're buying certified bad bad.
I get that.
Anyway.
What does that do for our hopes and or fears?
We can't focus on that. We just got to do we're 3 points behind
them, haven't we? We could have been 3 points in front of them yesterday. That was the fear. I thought it was an opportunity yesterday. Wirtz yesterday, non-existent. You know what I mean? Like absolutely, like lightweight, right? Mm-hmm. But he ain't going to be in 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks' time. He's going to get up to it all, Now they've got Isak, if they bring in Guéhi as well, it's an unbelievable window, you know what I mean, for them. Their fullbacks are not at the level that they should be. Like, they had a midfielder playing in there who, by the way, weakened their midfield yesterday. Now they're going to go there with Isak, Can I just say it, boys? Look at the lift we had with the Eze signing. It was fantastic. They're going to get that more now with Isak. It's an unbelievable signing, boys. It's an unbelievable signing from a player that we didn't think was going to happen. And I don't know if we should be in the mix. I think maybe we should be the way that Arsenal play. I'm a little bit worried that Gyökeres is not the sort of striker that Arteta wanted, you know what I mean? And maybe we should have gone down that route.
We won't do that though. We don't move like a big club. We don't do that.
No, we have moved like a big club this year. I disagree with it.
No, we haven't. We bought players that we buy even if we finished 3rd or 4th last season.
What player did we buy? Like a big club.
Yeah,
all the money we spent.
Buy that,
listen, we've got a striker in that we've all wanted. Look, come on, like this is what I know. But at the end of the day, everybody turned around and said Gyökeres. Like, you know what I mean? I'm going down that route.
But Lee, no. I turned around, Lee. End of last season, I turned around and said, at least go and bid for Isak. Go and see what happens if you rough it.
We might have asked him. Might have said he wanted Liverpool. I don't know.
But what you're saying is, it's a result of the way we are. The way Arsenal have moved over the years means our fans would rather say, let's go for Gyökeres or Osimhen because we can't get an Isak because it's 130 million, it's 150 million. It's embedded in us because this ownership have done this to us. When the reality is, we lick our wounds with, he made Champions League, he ain't going to come Arsenal.
No, I get that. Listen, 125 million, I think that Arsenal should be in that mix. 150, I think, was being quoted before. Like, then that weren't going to happen. Now, it was 100 million, if I believe, was being quoted if they didn't get Champions League. They've got Champions League football, and he's gone for 125 million. I think Arsenal should be in that mix when they've spent 105 on Declan Rice. We should have been in the mix. But I don't know if Arsenal wanted to be in where like when we say about it, you know what I mean? Why couldn't Liverpool just say like at the beginning? We was in the Newcastle hotel. And what did they say? You know what I mean? Like if they stump up the money, they get him like that. Why didn't they stump up the 125 million at the beginning of the transfer window? They didn't, did they?
I think Lee. I think what happened with that, Lee, is I think 150 is what they wanted and would have got. I think Isak's behaviour has lowered the value. I think because if he had kept his mouth shut, I think Newcastle get 140, 150 because he's been the way he's been behaving. That has brought the value down because they know now the guy wants out. And just quickly to your point about moving like a big club, for all the money we've spent, for all the attackers we've brought in, we still haven't got an attacker better than Salah. Liverpool have still got the best keeper in the league, the best defender in the league. So all the stuff that we've done, we've still got a team that's, in terms of personnel in certain areas, inferior to Liverpool.
But we weren't ever going to find Salah, Van Dijk or Alisson in the window. We weren't going to find that player.
No. But no, I'm just making the point. For all the money we've spent, we still don't have the best team in the league.
wouldn't swap our two centre halves for no one.
But this is where
Van Dijk. Would you swap Van Dijk for Saliba
for a one-off season? Yes.
But
yeah.
Okay,
he's better than him. He's better.
Yeah, I think, yeah, probably. I think the thing is, though, with Liverpool in their window, they've added some unbelievable players. I still think they had issues really in terms of... I think they have issues defensively that I'm not so sure they've addressed, even if they bring in full defenders, Frimpong, Kirkes, Leone and Gehi. If Gehi gets done at the moment, it's 50-50. I'm not sure they've quite addressed the defensive issues they've got. But Arne Slot made it quite clear in a really fascinating interview where they talked tactics, him and Jamie Carragher. He made it quite clear that he wants his team to be really attacking. He wants his team to be on the front foot and entertaining. And so maybe he's just thinking, yeah, great, but I think the answer is more goals. So, okay, that's how Liverpool are approaching it. I think Arsenal have had actually a very balanced window. We've addressed lots of different areas. We've addressed depth in the front three. We've addressed an out-and-out 9 that gets goals. We saw that against Leeds last week. We've added a 10 who can also play on the left. We've added a new 6 that complements Rice. We've added sort of new defenders. I think we've had a very, very good window. But I do agree with this point that even from a PR and optics perspective, look, I think it's probably sensible of Arsenal not to get dragged all the way to deadline day in a battle with Isak. Why? Because he'll probably choose Liverpool, firstly. I mean, even if we were in this, even if we match the fee, he's probably choosing Liverpool, firstly. And secondly, we had lots of other errors in the score. Sorry?
Why do you say that? Because you've been tainted by Kroenke?
No, because they're the champions, mate.
But we finished second, so it's not like oh, am I going to join a team that's going into Champions League? He could be the decider from second to first. So do you think the only reason he signs for them is because they're champions? That's the only reason that he'd pick them over us?
Yeah. I think if this were the year before, I think he'd have picked us. I think if this was summer 2024, I think he'd have picked us because we looked closer to achieving those things. Then Liverpool and Arne Slot leapfrog us. People forget we finished above Klopp's Liverpool 2 years in a row en route to finishing second, admittedly. But actually, then in that time they won trophies. So actually, maybe you'd have picked them anyway. But I think he was always going to pick them. So I can understand why we wouldn't want to go all the way to deadline day when we had all this other stuff to do. But I think from an optics and even PR perspective, I don't really know why we weren't even testing the waters, even trying to have that conversation in June or July before pivoting and going, okay, cool. Well, we've got other things to do. We're going to bow out this race once we understand. But if Isak had come out and gone, yeah, you're my number one, then maybe it's worth going to the very end to try to get that done. I don't know. There's so much going on behind the scenes we don't know. There's so much going on behind the scenes we don't know.
I think you're both right. I think he picks, if it's a 50-50, I think he picks Arsenal. However, I think James is right in that, do you want to go into the last day of the window to risk it? Or do you want to get your striker in, as we have done 3 weeks ago?
Liverpool. He'd have picked Liverpool, 100%.
You think? He might have. Maybe I'm just being biased.
But I'll flip it back to you, Turkish. Why wouldn't he pick Liverpool over us?
But you've only given me the champions reason, though. I think London plays a part. I think the fact he's got number 14 on his shirt and the history behind 14 would play a part. I think, you look at Liverpool and they already have greats there. They already have players that you assign to these league titles, and he's going into that. Whereas if he comes here and wins us a league title, he goes down in, the status he goes down in. If he, any player comes to win us the league title after 21 years, crazy. It's the same status as Salah, what he done for Liverpool after 30 years. So I think there's a lot of reasons why he would have joined Arsenal, but we didn't enter the market.
Isak would have loved to join.
All the Rio Sociedad boys are there as well. Why? I think that might have been an influence.
I think Isak would have loved to have joined us, but I don't think he'd ever have picked us over Liverpool. Again, okay, you're right. He can make a name for himself at Arsenal and be a particular player, but he wants to play with Alisson and Van Dijk and Salah. He wants to play in front of the Kop. He wants to play for the champions. He wants to play for a team that have been there and done it. He wants to play for a team that when they weren't winning the title and they were finishing below us the last 2 seasons, were at least getting to finals and winning other competitions like FA Cups and Carabao Cups en route to at least being competitive. Like Liverpool are, on paper, in terms of achievements, miles ahead of us for these last, maybe in history, but the last 5 years where we've supposedly kind of been competitive. And I think the minute they entered the chat, we weren't going to come away with him. But I would like us to, up to mid-July, have been a part of that conversation. When it was Gyökeres Sesko, it should have been Gyökeres Isak, but more of like a, they're looking at Gyökeres, but they want Isak. They're trying to see what can be done there. They've had a bid rejected, something like that, and then you pivot because you recognise there's too much work you've got to do elsewhere and it's going to cost too much. And Liverpool are in the conversation. That would have looked better, but ultimately, it wouldn't have changed the outcome. He'd have ended up at Liverpool. We'd end up with the players we've got. So I won't lose sleep over it.
Yeah, until they go and win the league, and Isak's got another 20-goal season, and then we wonder why. But yeah,
I know it's not always the best teams with the best players. I think Arteta's got the tools, even though Isak's gone to Liverpool. I think if he's a good enough manager, he's got the tools to win this league.
I don't know.
Now Slot does too. Slot does too,
because he's proven it.
I'm talking the tools, like the players, the resources.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The money's been there. I believe there's quality in our squad. I still believe we've got the best defense, the best back four. The tools are there. So it's like Isak makes Liverpool even better team. They're so scary, but I think we've got very good players. And
it also could bring problems, James. Could still bring problems to them, you know what I mean? Ekitike now is not going to play. You know what I mean? Like, he'll get games, but he's not going to be the number one. They might have go, oh, we put him out on the left. Gapco's just signed a new contract. Like, you know what I mean? There might be problems. Let's hope there is.
On that note, I'm done talking about Liverpool.